Good morning, everybody. Welcome here to the Arts and Culture Center for day 4, the final day of our MinEx conference. I'm happy to announce the start of our Insight Session presentations, Explorers for Gold and Critical Minerals. Before we get started, I would like to invite to the stage Bill DeGroot from PAL Airlines and Air Borealis, our session sponsor, to say a few words.
Good morning. Just like to bring welcome greetings from PAL Airlines and Air Borealis. We really appreciate all of the support that the communities offer us and allowing us to come here and spend a couple of days at this great conference. So thank you again and have a wonderful day.
All right, thank you very much, Bill DeGroot. Now, let's get things started with our first presenter. We'd like to invite to the stage Bob Patey, VP of Exploration at Canstar Resources, Inc. His presentation is From Core to Concept, First Principles Reconstruction of VMS Stratigraphy in the Buchans District.
Oh, you got a timer for me, good. Okay, great. Thank you for the intro, Brad. I'm sort of excited here to show you what we've been up to at our Buchans Merry March project in the last year. We're sort of taking a first principles approach to how to understand the area by reconstructing the stratigraphy so we can extend our knowledge of that throughout the property. The usual disclaimer, I may be saying something forward-looking or even worse, optimistic about how things are going to go here. Heed that properly. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm just going to talk about the contemplating a bit, our properties, why we're looking at VMSs, and then get into the details of Buchans Merry March, then focus even more on Merry March, and the guts of the presentation are going to be about what exactly we've been doing there, and then we'll sum up with what we're hoping to do in the next phase of work. Here's our team. We've got J.C. Giron is our CEO, and we've got a couple geologists on the team in the company, and a bunch of advisors and allied companies and consultants working for us, bringing a lot of expertise to the ground out there. We've got 3 properties that are of note. We've got the Buchans Merry March property, which I'll skip over here and do details later. We've also just gotten into a project in Sweden in the Skellefteå district, where we've got 310 square kilometers of ground in the northern section, which is sort of more till covered than the south. But the overall district is known for producing mines for the last 100 years with over 150 known deposits. And it's really known for being gold rich as well. So we think it's a great country to be in, and we've got good chances in that ground. We've also got the Golden Bay property in southern Newfoundland that we've just optioned to Churchill Resources, and we're hoping they're going to have some great success there. In Buchans, we've gotten into a JV with VMS Mining, a private company led by John Brzezinski and quite a number of people from Osisko's upper management. And they've also brought with them Dr. Harold Gibson, who's their VP Exploration, and he's been teaching us so much about how to understand these rock units, and leading us through the exploration is going to be, he's the best thing to come out of the deal, even though there's over 11 million of spending that they can bring to the project. But he's the best thing to come out of it for us. Why are we focusing on VMSs? Well, the polymetallic nature is a large part of it. There's gold and critical metals, so it's sort of a bit padded against the swings of the market and such. They're small, they're higher grade, so they're lower capex and easier to explore for. You know, the total amount of drilling to define a VMS is probably a heck of a lot less than a porphyry or some of the other large deposits types. It's a well understood model, and they come in clusters. So if you find one, you can find more, and if you got one target, there's loads in the area, usually. And it's typically underground, so they're less environmental impact than a pit would have. and we've got ourselves established now in 2 different belts, Newfoundland and Sweden. Here's the details of the Buchans belt. We've got the Buchans deposit itself had, which is very proximal to the western portion of our property, had over 16 million tons of ore at very high grades, with some good gold credit as well. They had over 700,000 ounces of gold produced. And at Mary March, we've had what's been described as the best drill intercept outside of the Buchans mine camp. That's in the whole of the belt. So it's definitely, we know there's something there. That intercept saves us a lot of time in finding targets and proving the area. And this is more details of the Mary March area. You can see here I got a mag map with soils over it. I hope they show up reasonably well. You can see a good, strong coincident anomaly in both soils and the magnetic low, which is produced by the alteration zone of the deposit. So we've got that, and we've also got a number of other drill hole and surface exposure knowledge of good mineralization. So there's a lot of smoke there, and there's proven fire in that drill intercept, so we're in the right place. I'll go back there. We've just one at a time. Yeah. We have we've recently increased our land, improved our land position there. You can see how the deposit is, the main dead drill hole intercept is right there, which before our additional optioning programs was sort of very close to the boundaries with other properties, and we've acquired those through option agreements, and in the pink and red there. We've also added a lot of ground through staking in the prospective northern area north of us. So we've got a good area to work with, and we're not going to worry about running into any claim boundaries as we work toward follow the mineralization. What we've done there, we've done some regional work in the form of a LiDAR survey, which is very useful for any surface work. And we've also done a drone mag high resolution survey there that really picks out the features in the magnetics. And we've just recently completed, haven't got the data yet, a IP survey over some of the newly acquired claims and onto our own there. And that's that line in that black line. Oops. That line in black there. We've also done some surface mapping and trenching as well there. But the main guts of it is the relogging of the core. We've got just under 15,000 meters of core, and Harold has guided us through an approach of looking at the core and getting a good understanding of it before you go and try and do 3D modeling and all that. You need to know what you're looking at before you can put it in the right place on the map. And we're using this graphic logging technique that puts all the information on paper so you can quickly look at it and understand it. It's not a big stream of text, which is what the old logs were, and those took a lot of reading before you could actually start to understand it. And I'll just run through how we did it. There's wrong button, that's the one I was looking for. There's the stratigraphic column, which shows the sort of lithologies, and it's got all kinds of patterns in it to indicate what is in the rock, and its width indicates the grain size. And you can see it, and so there's a lot to interpret. You can just look at that, and I can tell it's basalt andesite and andesite with a little dike at the bottom and some fault zones through it and some different geological features there, a little red dot, some sulfide, and all that. And we also use portable XRF a lot. That's this column there. That allows us to distinguish between the different rock types based on the titanium zirconium ratio. And that's something that nobody's used on this property before. And that led to a lot of people calling rocks by the wrong name, and therefore producing a much more complicated map than was needed to try to describe the geology there. So we avoided that problem with the portable XRF, and that's really great. And we also record the alteration in that column there of dashed lines. The darker the dashes, the more stronger the alteration, And we also capture some structural data and a lot of space where we still have to use words to describe it all there. That allowed us to divide the units into two different main units of geology. We've got what we call the rail bed, which is sort of a lot of breccias and mafic rocks, and with some dacite as well, with a volcanic rock. And then there's the lake unit, which is felsic volcanics, and the mineralization that is known there sits on top of the lake unit beneath its contact with the, on a thrust fault. So stratigraphically, the lake overlies the rail bed, but there's a thrust fault putting it in the wrong place. And here's details of the rail bed unit. You can see it's all sort of broken up breccias, multi-class, and there's a distinctive unit within it, which is the what we call a fire fountain, which has got these distinctive little small mini pillows, and that may be the best we can come to for the easiest marker bed that we can find in that. And we've also got the lake unit, which is felsic rhyolites and rhyodacite in flows and breccias, and it's got lots of stringers and alteration, and sitting on the top of this, within this is where the mineralization occurs, and we're mapping that out there. And how this sort of lies in space is in this diagram that Harold did here of the schematic reconstruction of what's there. We have a big pile of mafic volcanic rocks, flows and breccias mostly, with some dacite flows and breccias in it as well. And then on top of that is the felsic rocks, the rhyolites and dacites that we're calling the lake unit. And those come up, those are fed by dikes and sills that cut through the rhyolite, the mafic rocks of the rail bed. And we can see this is sort of a reconstruction of what we think another very schematic structure going on there. With the Mary March thrust fault brings the rail bed unit up over the lake bed, the lake unit, and drags this lens of sulfide there. This is where we've got evidence. This is where we're hoping to find the mineralization. So we're going to be trying to turn this from a vague concept into known fact, and see how the facts differ from what we see there. And we've also, in producing this stratigraphy, we've done a nice legend out of it all there, and we've also been looking at the alteration that's visible in the rocks there. We're using geochemistry and visual identification of it, and we've identified sort of in fairly faint yellow, you can see where we've outlined the sodium depletion in this here beneath the thrust fault, and on that thrust fault is where the sulfide lenses occurred. We believe that's been dragged there along the thrust from a place further along, and so the thrust seems to cut through the massive sulfide unit, and that's going to complicate things. Okay, so and in the future, and that's where we are now. We're compiling all the data we've gathered. We've got 15,000 meters of drill logs. We've got thousands of geochemical analysis, and all our observations we're putting into a 3D model. We're going to incorporate the geochemistry that's still at the lab, the results from the IP survey they're going to be coming in pretty soon, and put that into a 3D model to produce drill targets. Of course, we've got some rough idea and initial targets in mind. We're going to improve on those with the new data, and it's planning for drilling in June. We'll hope to be back here in next year to show you some new core and a good model showing where we're hoping to find a lot more. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Bob Patey. Our next speaker is Victor French, P.Geo, President and COO of Puddle Pond Resources, Inc. He's here to give a talk on the Handcamp and Lake Bond projects. Please welcome to the stage, Victor French.
That's me.
That is you. Feel free to take the mic.
Morning. Good morning, everybody. Small but captive audience, eh? Welcome to spring, the advent of another exploration season. Now, let me see, have I got this right? Where's the clicker on this? Oh, right here. All right. Back. Puddle Pond Resources. Puddle Pond Resources is a privately funded, Newfoundland-based company. We've been around for about 16 or 17 years. And 2021, we were successful in acquiring a couple of properties. We have a stable of mineral resource properties around Newfoundland, insular Newfoundland. In 2021, we were successful in acquiring 100% ownership in a couple of properties in central Newfoundland. And I'm going to talk to you about these properties this morning. They are the Handcamp and Lake Bond properties. They're situated along the Transcon Highway. This is the Handcamp here. This is Lake Bond, just west of Badger, so west of CCH. These properties have a long, well-documented, well-established history of mineral exploration. Handcamp was discovered in 1933, and Lake Bond was discovered in the early 1950s by the then owners of Reed Newfoundland Company. 2021, in this business, as in most industries or businesses, you need a little bit of luck, and we were lucky to put together a well-experienced field team under the direction of and leadership of prospector Fred Keats and Dennis Rousel. Between Fred and Dennis, they have over 100 collective years of mineral exploration in the province. They've almost been around as long as I have been. And we also augmented that with a group of consultants led by a tandem team, head of Auckland, New Zealand, Dr. John Stewart and Dr. Helen Williams, who are well known in the Circum-Pacific region and been key players in discoveries. And with that team put together, we have advanced the mineral potential on those two properties, both of which, based on the historical data, shows potential for hosting an economic reserve. So I'm going to give you a snapshot this morning of some of the new discoveries, the new developments at the Handcamp property, and close it off with a brief overview of the historical data from Lake Bond. We haven't focused on Lake Bond as much as we have on Handcamp. They are in an excellent geological setting. They're along the Red Indian Line, sometimes now referred to as the Beothuk Line, a deep crustal structural zone, one of several in Newfoundland that's drawing attention. This is the area here, and that Red Indian Line is the boundary between the exploits and Notre Dame subzones of the Dunnish Zone in Newfoundland. So it's a tectonic front. It's with the Red Indian Line being a deep crustal feature with a long life of tectonic activity, probably stretching from the tectonic orogeny or before right on up through to the Versinian. So there's all kinds of preparations been done through the geological career of these two properties that's allowed it to be favorable settings for the deposition of important mineral-bearing fluids. The Handcamp project is 100% owned by Puddle. We have no underlying royalties. Oops, there you go. It covers about 20 kilometers of strike length of the Buchans Roberts Arm belt, that prolific metal-producing belt, which is host to the past-producing Buchans mines, which this day remains the richest polymetallic mine ever mined in the North American Appalachian Mountain System, having over 22% total sulfide content, compared to, say, the Voisey's Bay today, which I think is around 3%. Has other historical deposits like the Goldbridge deposit, which is right immediately south of Handcamp, and other projects like, properties like Phillies Island, which I understand is now being drilled. The Red Indian Line, we straddle the Red Indian Line along the full length of the property, and as I said, this is a major regional lithotectonic boundary and transcrustal fault system. So a very favorable geological setting and a long history of mineral exploration success. The first day that Fred and Dennis were in there, I received a phone call from them. And what it was, they had come on an outcrop, an outcrop of highly gossinous, rusty material that since 1933 shows no evidence, now shows no evidence of previous exploration. No channeling, no rock sampling, nothing. And Fred said, Vic, he said, I don't understand this, he said. He said, this is out here sitting, he said, very well exposed and doesn't show any previous record of mineral exploration, ground mineral exploration. So I said, what do you want to do? He said, well, let's bring in an excavator to start stripping. So we did that within a matter of a day or two, and we stripped off this area, brought in our geology crew at the time, and channeled this zone, which was exposed for about 25 meters in width. And that was our first successful foray into the Handcamp project. I say that has been an object of historical exploration by many companies, both globally recognized mining companies, a bunch of juniors, and even the Newfoundland government since 1933, which has not only carried out extensive surface exploration, but also diamond drilling. A 12-hole diamond drilling program in 2010 by CAT returned highlight gold values of 6.28 grams per ton gold. Oops, gee, I'm on the wrong one. Over 1.9 meters within a broader interval of 1.2 grams per ton gold over 20.9. Initial surface exploration by us in 2021 improved on the known distribution of the gold mineralization. Highlights included 8 meters of 5.22 grams per ton equivalent gold in the channel and 9 meters of 2.92 and so forth. And on an outcrop scale, the work we've done to date indicates that gold mineralization is hosting a combination of highly deformed quartz veins and intensely foliated quartz sericite pyrite altered volcanic rocks. At a larger scale, lithostructural analysis indicates that the presence of a district-scale shear zone comprised of an anastomosing array of faults and lineations and what have you. So we took the historical data, digitized it, and it was modeled, processed, and interpreted by Geoconcern at Auckland, and they put together this map. It's an interesting. I'm going to refer you to another slide in a minute. This map predates some of the excellent work that's been done in this area by workers and compilers of the Geological Survey of Canada. In 2023, Brian O'Brien and his co-workers published the latest compilation on this part of the Buchans Roberts Arm Belt, which he refers to as the Southern Roberts Arm Volcanic Belt. And I'll show you that in a minute, and it gives an explanation of why you see so much deformation in here. In doing this, of course, They also identified 15 targets that they considered worthy of follow-up, showing potential for being mineralized. And so this was one of our first things that we did in advancing our understanding what's going on here. I showed you back here, you know, this outcrop that had no previous record, or showed no previous record of exploration, covered by fairly mature forest cover, which didn't grow overnight, and which we stripped, and then just not far away from it, about 200 meters along the trend of the main Handcamp zone. This is what we call the main Handcamp zone. Of course, this was work that was done by CAT, stripping and trenching, and uncovered the intense alteration and mineralization that's we have chased out now to almost a kilometer. So again, 200 meters away was basically, for lack of a better term, a virgin outcrop that was not even looked at. I draw your attention to this, to the magnetic relief in this area. This map here is a map based, overlaying on the total mag intensity for the area. One of the things I'm going to point out to you here, if you look at the mag relief, is there seems to be a north verging or north closing large fold structure. And at the back then, that's, you know, it's obvious. We looked at this, it appears to be a large folding event along the red Indian line. The red Indian line, this is it here, this is the trace of it, right through here, highlighted by intercalated or interlayered mag lows and magnetic eyes. The higher red sections being magnetic eyes. Interestingly, when O'Brien published his work in 2023, he said there were strong evidence along that belt of large regional folds. So you can see the evidence of it here. So the interesting thing, one of the interesting things I find, this is the main Handcamp zone right here. And these are some of this is a cluster of puddle pond holes along an 850 meter section, and the holes through by CAT. But we had some interesting drill intersections here. Interesting in that they return consistently higher grades than were recorded in any other drilling program throughout throughout a century of drilling, really. And we don't know what the explanation is. All these drilling programs were done professionally, and we didn't manipulate our data. We just drilled the holes, sampled it, and carried it down the road about 15 minutes to Eastern Analytical, and had the assays done. But this is one of our better intersections here, 7.3 meters at 3.9 grams per ton gold and 29 grams of silver. Like I said, I don't know what the reason is. With the work that we did in our initial stripping right here, one of the things we did discover is a lot of the hanging wall side of this zone is right here. This is towards the north, and it's dipping steeply to the northwest. We found a very thin magnetite layer, and I see no record of this or much of a record. How much time we got? 1 minute. See, I talk a lot, don't I? My wife tells me I talk too much. So anyway, we intersected some massive sulfides. If you go through the records, there's no indication of massive sulfides. There's only 0.9 meters, but 2.38% copper, 3% zinc, 3 or 3.5% lead, 10 grams per ton gold, and 273 grams a ton silver. Polymetallic mineralization. Here are some of the CAT intersections right here. 20 meters, 1.2 grams. These are the thicker ones. right here, 17.8 meters at 1.0. And over on this side, over on this side is some of our intersections. In the yellow are our broader zones, and the red highlights some of our high-grade intervals within these broader zones. So you notice the grades, 2 grams, 1.9, 1.9, 1.2, 1.3. And going down to the south, we extended the zone to the south with some really decent grades. So much improved. One of the things we're finding, here's a typical core. This is our massive sulfide zone here, showing the deformation. Here's a typical section of core. We move down to the south. This is at the end of the 8. You can see what heavy tree cover, lots of overburden. This is an idealized model. And we also have some really highly intensely deformed quartz veins. These quartz veins are not that common, but they do carry elevated golds and elevated grades in gold. We found a copper zone down to the south, 2 kilometers away. It's on the magnetic trend, got soil anomalies overlain, and there's some really strong mineralization. Copper only, no polymetallic mineralization, so a different provenance or different mineralizing event, but up to 4.8% copper. Handcamp, or Lake Bond, which covers another 7 kilometers of the belt, 100% honed. One nice thing about Handcamp, it has been looked at really that well since it was discovered in the 50s and drilled by New Jersey Zinc and Consolidated Morrison. Our objective is to go in now. We have a drilling permit, thank you very much to the Department of Mines and Energy. We have to go drilling, but for example, here's one intersection here, 2% copper over 12.68%, or 12.68 meters, and only 4 meters below vertically. So this is our, and as part of the Goldbridge track, this is the Goldbridge track, which is host to numerous showings and deposits, Dawes Pond, Starks Pond, the Goldbridge Mine, and Lake Bond. My time is up. And here's one thing, we also now with the magnetic shows, there's another big fall in here. Here's the Lake Bond deposit, and there's another zone over here that hasn't been tested. Highlights, favorable geology, good mineralization. Thank you very much. Come back next year and I'll finish it for you.
All right, thank you very much to Victor French. We now welcome to the stage Konrad Chrzastowski from Canterra Mineral Corp. He's a senior geologist in corporate development, and he'll be talking on the Buchans and Wildings project updates. Welcome to the stage, Konrad.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm Konrad Chrzastowski. I'm a geologist and corporate development officer with Canterra Minerals Corp. I'm just going to take you through our polymetallic district portfolio. We're in central Newfoundland. We have the Buchans mine, which is the image you can see here. I'll go over a little bit about the results from 2025 and mostly what we're doing in 2026. Okay, there we go. Forward-looking statement. So 4 reasons why Canterra matters right now. We have the foundation of a developer. We have the second largest critical mineral portfolio in central Newfoundland, 26 million tons under our ownership, and we were directly on strike with the Equinox Gold Valentine mine. We have support from our strategic shareholders and Michael Gentili and Eric Sprott, and we're going to have a catalyst-fueled 2026 with a fully funded 15,000 meter drill program following up on our highlight successes at the Buchans project and Wilding. And our goals for the year are through systematic exploration to build on the discoveries in our VMS camps and to make a meaningful new gold discovery at Wilding. Just a quick corporate overview. We trade on the venture as CTM. Market cap is roughly 87 million as of yesterday, and we had 7.1 million cash as of late last year. So we're fully funded for 2026 and everything I'm going to talk about today. The management board is largely unchanged with one notable exception. Matt Manson, who might be familiar to many of you in the room, joined our board in February. He's currently the president and CEO of Radisson Mining Resources, and more importantly, was former CEO and president at Marathon Gold, where he led them from early stage exploration through to the development and construction of the Valentine Gold Mine until that was acquired by Calibre Mining and then subsequently by Equinox. But it's great to have him on the team, and his experience is really invaluable to us. Just to zoom out a little bit to the district level, we've acquired a large land position over the last 3 years. We are calling this the Central Newfoundland Mining District. So we kind of acquired all the resource stage deposits outside of Equinox and the Duck Pond mine. So we're currently the owners of 684 square kilometers, 7 resource stage projects with multi-commodities, gold, silver, copper, lead, and zinc. And this is a great jurisdiction. It's road accessible, great infrastructure, great towns nearby. We have our field office is in Buchans Junction, in the top right there. We have a smaller field office in Korshak in Buchans, and the community of Millertown is here. We hire a ton of local people. The hardware store is directly across the street from our Korshak in Buchans, and it's been a great place to work. Super supportive. And I just wanted to mention the core library in Buchans has been a great resource for us as well. It's a provincially run facility. I think there's several of them all over the island, and it's a really great resource for any geologist or mining company in Newfoundland, and not something that you see elsewhere in Canada or in the world, really. Geologically, we have 3 main units that we kind of group our projects into. In the reds, the Rogerson Lake Conglomerate unit, so that's the marker horizon for the Valentine Lake Shear Zone, which hosts the Valentine Mine. That contains our Wilding project. The Victoria Lake Supergroup is kind of in this orangey color, which you can't really see too well on this screen, but that contains 6 of our resource stage projects, 10 million tons of global resources, VMS. And then on top there, we have the Buchans project and the Buchans Group rocks in yellow. And that contains our Lundberg flagship project, which is a 16 million ton stockwork zone resource. I'll take you through a little bit more detail into Buchans. Buchans was a historic high-grade VMS mine operated from 1928 to 1984. It was one of the highest grade mines in the world at the time. We acquired it December of 2023. And what we have remaining is the Lundberg stockwork zone. So as mentioned before, 16.8 million tons and a cluster of prospects and targets that were left behind by previous operators. So that's what got us in and got us excited about this project. What we did last year was 8,600 meters of drilling. We expanded the Lundberg mineralization. We tested the pump house target, sandfill target. We ran a property-wide 3D IP survey, and we have been trying to use the Verify AI tool, which you see here, and that has helped us pick out new targets, like this new target, which has shown up really well, and I'll get to in a sec. Back to Lundberg, we had meaningful success outside of the pit shell. This is the pit shell and the resource. Hole 25, 35, 42 hit 4.45 meters of 7.73% copper equivalent in the 2-level zone, which is a high-grade zone, and then sitting on top of 86 meters of 0.91% copper equivalent. We think that there's a lot of upside here. These the resource was done at 2019 metal prices, and with $6 copper now, zinc's up a little bit. We think that there's a meaningful potential increase to the resource, and we are potentially going to do one at the end of the year or into the start of next year. The 3D IP survey we ran last year is one of the largest 3D IP surveys ever done, apparently, according to the contractors that we used. This was a really big undertaking. It's relatively expensive for a company our size, but the results it gave us are really exciting. And we're still kind of working through them and testing targets. But the key takeaway for us was that had the mine not been found yet and we ran the survey, the mine trend and the mine, we would have certainly found it. It's like a screaming anomaly. And several other anomalies remain on the property, and we're going to systematically test those throughout the rest of the year, including the new target, which is the one that the AI picked up that had kind of been forgotten about by the previous operators and even our team in the past. So the AI is more of a tool that we use to identify or rethink things. It's not like a direct targeting tool at the moment for us, but it gets us to think a little bit outside of the box. And then going forward this year, a lot of potential still at Buchans. Buchans is super structurally complex. There's a lot of thrust blocks, repeat ore horizons all throughout the property. We have identified several of them. Right now we're drilling at West Clementine. We actually just finished and we're awaiting results. And the new target, which is drilling that we did last year in the forgotten kind of southern area of our property, we tagged into the same ore stratigraphy that we see in the mine, same geochem, and that got us really excited. And we interpret that this trend goes to the southwest. And we just recently staked this 13.5 kilometer expansion to the south. And we'll be doing targeting and drilling later this year. Briefly touching on wilding. Wilding was our first project in Newfoundland. It's on strike, same structural corridor as Equinox Gold. The New Valentine mine, which is the largest mine in Atlantic Canada. Eldorado Gold went into true precious metals to the southwest. Pirate Gold's doing a large program just to the northeast of us on the same structure. And Omega, I think, just raised $20 or $30 million, and they would be on the same structure just to the southwest. So this belt is expanding. It's very exciting. There's probably going to be several 100,000 meters drilled here this year, I would think. And we have 55 kilometers of that exact same strike length and geology. Last year was our best drill intercept yet at Wilding. We hit in hole 25-100, 35 meters or 31.5 meters at 10.89 grams per ton and 6.6 at 8.22. These were our best ever results and encouraging us to keep going with advancing this project. And one of the other exciting targets was the Aspen target. This was just a preliminary test target over an IP anomaly on trend with Alder, sort of a blind target with no geochemical response. But we tagged into a small vein at 1.5 meters of 0.57. And we think that there's a lot of vein potential in this area. And we're doing televiewer now to get better structural orientations and better delineate that. What we've decided to do for the start of this year was a basal till program. The goal, we've always focused on the kind of core wilding known area, and we're trying to figure out a way to, belt scale target our entire 55 kilometers. So the rig we're using is a little shock auger rig, which you can see in the bottom left, and the drill bit on the top. And we're doing 250 holes right now at Wilding. We just finished that. We're waiting results. There'll be maybe a few weeks or months. And then we'll drill almost certainly at Wilding in the latter half of the year. The two reasons why we think basal till is the best for Wilding, at least, is because of the glacial till cover. There's up to 10 meters of till on our property. Soil samples can be displaced hundreds of meters to kilometers away or extremely muted, where you almost get no gold response at all. A basal till will penetrate all the way to the bedrock horizon, and you get a consistent, good sample every time, in theory, and should give you a much better vector and drill targeting in the future. And it's always kind of a cost for speed versus quality, and we think that this method is probably the best for our property, at least. One of the most exciting targets is the mag target on our property. It's an 8x2 kilometer magnetic high that has only been tested in one hole. In 2017, they drilled into it, and they tagged into the Valentine Lake Intrusive Suite, which is the same host as the Valentine Mine. This is a large area that we're really excited about. It's on top of the Rogerson Lake conglomerate, or the Rogerson Lake conglomerate sitting on top of it. It's a mineralized sheared contact, only drill tested once, and we're going to follow up this year, hopefully. So what we're doing is reflying a high-resolution mag survey, taking the line spacing from 75 meters to 25. We'll do a mag inversion to get better geometries, and we will drill it. And just to touch up on the compilation that we've been doing for last year somewhat quietly, we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, just compiling geophysical data across all of our projects. We acquired terabytes of data through our 3 acquisitions we've done from Norzink, Buchans Minerals, Paragon, Messina. All these companies had large kind of historic data sets. We've digitized pretty much every EM, mag survey, gravity survey, ground gravity survey in the last 30 years. And we're unifying our drilling databases now into a one unified product, and that'll really help us in the future with drill targeting and utilizing AI. And this is just an example from Long Lake that we did. Yeah, it'll be a great year for us. We are finishing up, we're getting results from the drilling at Wilding, Buchans, mag survey done, getting results soon. We'll drill wherever the best targets are across our whole portfolio of properties, and it'll be a lot of catalysts coming up for us, hopefully. But thanks.
Thank you very much to Konrad from Canterra Mineral Corp. Next up on the stage, we'd like to invite Greg Matheson of Pirate Gold Corp. He is the VP of Exploration, and he's here to talk about the Treasure Island project. Welcome to the stage, Greg Matheson.
All right. Morning, everybody. My first time presenting for Pirate Gold, so we'll see how this goes. We are a relatively new company, and try and touch on that. Mandatory disclaimers and forward-looking statements, which I may be making. So it's a relatively new company, as well as being an old entrant and staple here in the island. Pirate Gold is the evolution of a former company called Sockman Minerals, as probably many of you are aware of. Long time led by Tim Froud, you see there in the center, and myself and Denis Laviolette, who's the current CEO, has joined this group approximately 4 or 5 months ago. And so we saw the developments with Sockman. We saw, you know, their excellent work that was going on at the Moosehead project, and we wanted to get involved there. Denny and myself have come over from Newfound Gold, and quite familiar with operating here in this province. So the Treasure Island project is located in central Newfoundland. It does incorporate the former Sockman Minerals assets, which is the Moosehead prospect. But what we wanted to do is actually really try and transform that more into a regional exploration play. So we recognize that Moosehead unto itself was a high-quality asset, but we needed additional ground to try to look for additional resources, of course. Located just outside of Grand Falls, Windsor, on the north end, and then in along the Valentine Lake fault structure for roughly 95 kilometers. This is a good diagram here. So we kind of look at the expansion of the project and that kind of transformation that we were trying to make in the belt, really from what were kind of singular assets, being the Crippleback and Moosehead properties, into what we now call Treasure Island. And now we stretch along the Valentine Lake shear zone. So it was roughly 1,000%, kind of tenfold increase in the total land holdings there. Just kind of looking where we're situated amongst the other, significant gold players on the island here. We've got our friends down at Valentine Lake, Equinox Gold, with their producing mine here. And then we've got the up-and-coming producer being Newfound Gold Corp, who's operating at the Hammerdown project up in the Bayswater Peninsula, as well as their Queensway project to the east. So it's quite an extensive land package. Roughly mirrors, some of the strike-like potential that was over at the Queensway project for Newfound. For myself, I'm relatively new to this belt. I've been on a steep learning curve, I'd say, for the last 6 months, trying to pick up as much information as I can. There's a lot of complex geology in this part of the world. The Moosehead project sits up here. It's in the Botwood Sedimentary Basin, which covers what we would consider the northern part of the project. Sits just adjacent to the Mount Peyton batholith. And then the real intriguing part about the project is it sits on the Crippleback Lake intrusive suite. And this intrusive suite is kind of what I'll be speaking more to today. But it's got a lot of analogs to some interesting projects on the island. Just briefly on Moosehead, this is the only slide I have on this. It's a vein-filled fault fracture zone, so it's a very typical orogenic system. A lot of kind of brittle, narrow structures, relatively complex geometries involved there. Plenty of room to expand this zone, so we've been doing quite a bit of exploration there. Really, what I would define as kind of near mine exploration. So we're stepping out on existing vein zones. We have actually pulled in a few new discoveries in the short time period we've been there. We announced an additional vein that was intersected between the two parallel fault structures. Got some high grades off it. I believe we were hitting 65 grams per ton over 3.25 meters in recent announcements. And that vein structure, we believe we can see additional ones that may be linking these two, as well as other parallel structures that may exist here. So that's one of our focuses. We currently do have one drill that's operational at Moosehead. But next, I kind of jump ship, and we move out of the orogenic world, and we move into the porphyry epithermal world. And the porphyry epithermals are a large contributor to the global gold production profile, predominantly for copper, obviously for the copper porphyries. And you find them along convergent margins throughout the world. However, they're predominantly in much younger terrains. So it's not something that we would expect to see here in the Appalachians. But, oh, I'm clicking too many things. But there are a few examples in the Appalachians that we can have a look at. So here's a map of the Appalachian belt, and kind of some of the prominent examples would be the Hale gold mine in Carolina. Certainly the big daddy of them all is the Gaspé copper, located on the Gaspé Peninsula. It's partly porphyry, partly skarn type deposit, and then kind of most relevant to us is the Hope Brook epithermal that's in the southwest of Newfoundland. And actually, to date, this has been the largest producing asset in Newfoundland. So the Hope Brook deposit is actually located right here in the southwest. It's associated with what we call the Roti intrusive suite. Now, we've got another asset here, or another intrusion here, called the Valentine Lake intrusive suite, and then we've got Crippleback intrusive suite. And what's really unique about these are much older rocks. These are Neoproterozoic inliers, essentially basement rocks that are sticking out in the center of the island. And this one has a large gold mine, this one has a large gold mine, and this one doesn't have much exploration. And so that's why we're quite intrigued about it. It's kind of a twofold story here at the Crippleback intrusive suite, because we've got comparables to the Roti with Hope Brook, and we've got comparables to Valentine Lake. And so we do sit just to the north of Valentine, about 55 kilometers to the northeast. And some of the excellent work that was done by Ian Hansberger and Hamish Sandeman and et al. You know, we can see we have a very similar geometric arrangement here. So the litho architecture of Crippleback should be quite akin to Valentine. So that kind of brings us into the world of high orogenic potential. Very limited exploration has been done at this part of the province, so we're hoping to advance that aspect. You know, if you look a little bit more in detail, we're trying to bring as much color to the known geology there. So we've updated a bit of the mapping through this area. But the real curious aspect of this comes to some drilling that was done by the predecessor company in 2024. And Tim Froud has presented on this previously, but I thought we'd take another look at it because we're actively following up on this target right now. This is a hole drilled in 2024 within the Crippleback intrusive suite that hit effectively 220 meters of clay alteration. So this is advanced argillic alteration that we would see normally associated with a copper porphyry or epithermal style deposit. And one of the key things that stands out here is you can see with the spectral analysis that we're getting an increase in the white mica, a decrease in the white mica wavelengths as we go down this drill hole here. So what that's telling us is that any mineralization should be sitting somewhat proximal to that. This is a gold, this is showing the gold values throughout the hole. This entire suite has been anomalous for gold, and what we found is there's some sort of strong control on that, whether it be a fault, whether it be a lithological contact that's actually kind of confining the alteration. When we plot that on surface, you can see that that's actually quite extensive. This is roughly 1.5 kilometers between this drilling that was done in 2024. And this is where things get real interesting. We move to the geophysics. So this is a preliminary view of a high-resolution airborne EM frequency domain survey that our company's been conducting over the last month and a half, and we just wrapped up in the last couple weeks. But this zone of low resistivity correlates almost exactly with what we're seeing in the clays. And so we think that this is a conductive layer that's easily mapped. I don't know why this thing keeps jumping on me. Easily mapped on the geophysics. And when we step back, we actually get a bigger picture of the scale of this alteration system. So we're talking about somewhere between 6 and 7 kilometers in total strike length. Why does this thing keep moving? In this direction, and roughly 1 to 1.5 kilometers across this broad anomaly. And so we think that this represents a much larger alteration halo around what could be a significant deposit or some type of mineralization associated with porphyries or epithermals. You know, just move to the mag, and this is what really kind of tells you it's a bona fide target. You've got magnetic destruction that almost perfectly overlays with the EM response that we're seeing. And again, there's additional areas that we think host a similar alteration sequence within the crippleback. So what are we doing about it? Well, we've got 2 diamond drills up there. They've been up there for a month. We're not afraid of drilling deep holes here. We're kind of targeting some holes in that 800-meter range, really trying to test the heart of this anomaly. And hopefully, I'll be here next year telling us all about what we found under this gigantic anomaly. So for this year at Moosehead, we're going to continue to expand that orogenic potential. We've got a lot of high grade there. Everything's been drilled near surface, plenty of room to expand that. Crippleback, we're going to be, you know, right now testing that anomaly, but then in the latter part of this season, we're going to be going after the orogenic potential that we see there. Last but not least, I will put a plug in for our YouTube channel. We got our camera guy in the back there, so I might end up on YouTube after this, who knows. But yeah, we're trying to bring a lot of transparency to what we're doing in exploration. You know, both for the industry itself, but, you know, obviously to plug ourselves and the work that we're doing and try and keep our shareholders informed. So we do have a roughly bi-weekly YouTube series that goes on. Oh, that's not supposed to play. So that's it, and thank you for having me, everybody. And
Thank you much to Greg Matheson. Our final speaker for the Insight session presentations today of Explorers Gold and Critical Minerals, we'd like to invite to the stage Stephen Stairs, the president and CEO of Vinland Lithium Incorporated. He's here today to talk about the Killick Lithium project.
Thanks everyone, and thanks again to MinEx for the invitation. I was here yesterday speaking about Benton Resources, and Vinland is a direct spin out actually of Vinland Resources or of Benton Resources and actually the old Sockman Minerals. So this project in 2021, Tim Froud and myself formed a bit of a coalition to go look for gold on a line straight from the Hope Brook gold mine. And our first couple of days, myself and Tim and my brother Mick and Sean O'Brien, an old Newfoundland government geologist, were flying around looking at old gold till anomalies and so forth, looking for gold. We see this big white outcrop. Myself and my brother's got a lot of experience in looking for lithium. So when we landed on the outcrops and start banging around, we quickly realized that this was a lithium-bearing pegmatite. So we took some samples and got our first lithium numbers and also the very first lithium discovery ever in Newfoundland. There's papers written that there should be lithium in Newfoundland as this is a part of the Carolina trend, the Appalachian structures that hosts the Leinster lithium belt in Ireland and also into Nova Scotia and down into the Carolinas where Piedmont Lithium has a large lithium deposit. Since that time, we brought Piedmont to the project, and given its close proximity to the coast, and Piedmont was building a plant, or planned to build a plant in the Carolinas, they thought it would be a good idea to partner with us and advance this project, as they could just put the spodumene concentrate on a boat and bring it over to their plant for concentration. So we decided to spin it out into Vinland Lithium. They financed the company $2 million at $1 per share. Hence, we have a very tight structure of only 10 million shares out and about $1.4 million cash in the bank now. And shortly thereafter that, Piedmont merged with Shiona Lithium, another lithium company out of Australia, and formed Lever Lithium, but decided that they wanted to pursue only advanced assets around their mine site in Quebec, and decided to pull out of the joint venture. So Vinland Lithium ended up with 100% interest back in the project and a publicly traded vehicle. The project sits very close to the Hope Brook gold mine, and also down around P.Geo. The Highway 480 to P.Geo transitions through the project. The Hope Brook gold mine actually sits over in this area. I think the boys got this put on the wrong side. As I mentioned, it's part of the Appalachians, and this is the North Carolina belt coming in through here, up into Nova Scotia, through Newfoundland, and over into the Leinster belt in Ireland, where there is also lithium deposits discovered. Large structural zones, Bay Des Fault in here that host the Hope Brook gold mine. Again, there's several geoscientists working on this project with us through an initiative, Atlantic Initiative. I think they got about a $1.8 million budget. We let them stay at our camp, and we share data with them. They share data with us. So in hopes of finding more lithium in the belt. In the second year we were there, we discovered the first also ever cesium zone. So we had some very high grade cesium results, which I'll talk about as well. Again, very large land package. Again, this is in comparison to places like Ontario. Most lithium deposits have been known since like the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. So we literally are in the infancy of a new lithium belt and discovery, and we figured we'd take most of the stratigraphy in. So again, we got a very large land package that we're pursuing. We've done lots of till sampling, getting high spodumene counts in various areas. So we know there's more out there. We just have to find these things. We've done a huge amount of soil sampling as well along our trends. And the soil sampling worked extremely well. As I mentioned, discovered in 2021, drilled our first 6 holes in 2022. Multiple dikes discovered 2022 as well. Late 2022, we drilled another 18 holes in 2 phases. We've done another 11, and we discovered the Killick dike and the Kraken dikes. Some of the trenching and sampling that we've done on surface. This is our camp in here. We've done high resolution mag, which also shows, it don't show the dikes, but we can certainly pick out features where the dikes lie along magnetic lows, etc. So this, coupled with all the soil sampling and so forth, it's really narrowing us in on finding new dikes. Of course, in 2023, the lithium market kind of fell apart. Most of the lithium companies that were trading at all-time highs are now back to all-time lows. So a little bit harder to raise funds and so forth. So last year we had a small program where we did discover some new lithium-bearing floats down to the south of the Kraken discovery, which we're hoping to get some drill holes into this year. I'll show some maps on that as well. You can see some of these dikes are quite extensive. They're large exposures. A lot of these areas have not even been drill tested yet that we've discovered. So there's a tremendous amount of upside yet for further discoveries. This is a Google image of the dikes that we've mapped out so far in the immediate area of all the spodumene bearing floats and or outcrops. The main dike that we've got most of the drill holes into right now is over here in the Killick dike, and we got a few holes over here in the Kraken dike. At the Killick dike, we've drilled quite an extensive amount of drill holes. We actually didn't know the strike of it when we first found it. We thought it was east-west, but it's highly folded. And lo and behold, we found that we actually put our camp right on top of the dike. So we had to move the drill back and forth in between tents and so forth to keep drilling it. But some of these intercepts that we intercepted at the beginning here is 13 meters of 1.22 lithium, 1.6 over 8, etc. So these are comparable to what you see in Northern Ontario in most of the deposits. They're plus 1%, which would be considered ore grade. The dikes are highly folded, so again, this was a tough thing to figure out, but with enough drilling, we start to see that start to come together. These things are still wide open along strike and at depth, and we'll have a program this summer to keep expanding on that. As I mentioned, we got about $1.3 to $1.4 million in the bank, and I'm actually in the process of raising another $1 to $2 million to do a program this summer to advance the lithium. This is just a cross section showing the dikes at depth. As you can see, wide open. These are some very deeper holes, 21 meters of 0.8, including 5 meters of 1 and 10 meters of 1. Oh, this is going on its own here. Oh, let me go back here. So again, lots of drilling to do here and to build out a resource. Soil sampling, very effective. So we sampled essentially right over all the dikes. As you can see, up the grades up here are 100 to 900 for very high grade. But when you start getting into the 50s to 150 in soils and in lithium, this makes us very interested. And as you can see, we got tons of these type of anomalies. We followed up on a lot of them, and we've got a lot of dikes found. This is actually over to the east of the project, where very little other than prospecting is done. No drilling at all done on this side, other than up at the cesium dike, which is up in this area right here. We've actually completed more sampling now to the north of that as well. So soil sampling. This is the hydrocesium area. This has all been hand stripped ourselves, myself and my brother and Tim, Barry Sparks. Went in there with water pumps and stripped this off and channel sampled it. So these were the first grades of cesium ever released on the island as well. Some of these lines in here, 7 meters of 0.72%, 3.5 or 3.6 meters of 1.4. And I think we had some very narrow intercepts of up to 13% over like 0.6 meters and so forth. So, so pretty exciting discovery. We drilled five holes into it with, again, very anomalous cesium. I don't know if I actually put that in the PowerPoint. No, I didn't. And then last summer, just before the end of the season, the prospectors that were in there south of camp, which our camp is over here on the Killick dike, they discovered a whole series of new spodumene-bearing dikes. And as you can see, there's these linear features in here, and we believe they're structurally controlled. Now, we're not sure if these are glacier transported floats from the Kraken and Killick areas. But the one thing we did find is any float that we found in this area, the source was generally right underneath the boulders where we drilled. So we believe these got a good chance of being close to source and bedrock, and they're basically the extension of these dike systems coming down into here. And these are some of the pictures over here. You can see how angular they are. We believe they're just not transported at all. And we're getting up to almost 2% lithium in some of this stuff. So moving forward, again, just about to raise $1 million. Going to drill a couple more holes in the cesium area, maybe do a little bit more trenching. We're going to drill some holes in the new float samples that we've discovered, and we're going to drill some expansion holes on the Killick and Kraken dikes to see if we can move it closer to a resource, which will take a substantial amount of drilling. One of the things that do help us is we've done very detailed ground mag as well, and I haven't got the dikes actually plotted on these, but they fit very well into some of these structural mag lows here, and we're working on that right now, plotting where all the dikes sit inside these structures, and planning a much larger detailed ground magnetics. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.